Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DargonEvo, and today I'm coming at you with the full and latest reveal on the S.H.Monsterarts Millennium Godzilla, also known as 1999 or 2000 Godzilla. In this video, I'm going to be giving y'all the full breakdown, where I recommend you get it if you live in the US. We'll be going over the Japanese release date, along with a full breakdown of these photos and some comparisons against the original prototype that Tamashii Nations released, which was also designed by the same man, Yuji Sakai. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get right into the video. Off the rip, these images look absolutely stellar. We're gonna go through these and break down the articulation color a little more before we do a full comparison, but we're gonna go over the info dump real quick. So brought to you by the Articulation series, the S.H.Monsterarts Godzilla 2000 will be releasing in Japan September 2025. He's going to be a general release, so none of that P-Bandai BS. So he should be readily available for quite some time. His Japanese MSRP is 12,100 yen, which comes out to $80.63 USD, which keep in mind that is before tax and import fees, but his estimated price in the US for places like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth is to be around $120, which is to be expected considering what the new re-release of Burning Godzilla and Final Wars Goji is going to be, which both of those guys are priced very similar. Japanese pre-orders are going to be opening up on April 4th, and they will sell out fast. US pre-orders should be up for some time. They usually get more stock reserved. US release date has not been revealed, which typically is a month or two after the Japanese release date. USA pre-orders should be dropping within a week or two after the Japanese pre-orders, so you should see them on Big Bad Toy Store and all of those places in the US, if that's where you prefer to buy them from. For accessories, he comes with none, which is not surprising considering the track record of Tamashii Nations, but his height will be 6.3 inches, so he's going to be right in scale with 2002 Godzilla and most of their other mid-sized kaiju. Now, checking out that description, I don't know if they use Google Translate or what, but I'm gonna paraphrase this for simplicity of understanding. Going off of this from Godzilla X Megaguirus G-Annihilation Operation, which I did not know was the official Japanese title, Godzilla 2000 appears on the S.H.Monsterarts line. Godzilla 2000, who fought a fierce battle with Megaguirus, has been thoroughly reproduced with a completely new sculpt. It was produced by Yuji Sakai, who is responsible for the prototype, painting, and modeling, which, like I said, he also did the original prototype design, which was used for the poster. I'm glad they gave him a chance to make a movie-accurate figure as well. But based on the Godzilla suit used in the movie, this figure has been enhanced by incorporating a new movement mechanism. The range of motion of the arms has been improved, and the range of motion of the head has also been increased. You can also recreate the impressive scene of Godzilla body slamming Megaguirus from the sky, which we can get a sneak peek of that right here. To be honest, this looks more like he's swimming. This would have benefited from a lower perspective shot, but still looks very nice nonetheless. Now, getting into these photos, off rip, we can see that little bit of green sheen that he has mixed in the front half of his body with a nice charcoal gray. They did an excellent job recreating the appearance from the movie. We'll get some closer shots, but we can even see how magnificently they achieved that color grading on the teeth and on the dorsal spines. This honestly might be one of the most movie accurate figures that Tamashii Nations has released, as long as the quality control holds up, which they usually don't have too many issues with these Millennium/Heisei era figures from my experience. Here we can get a lovely shot of the front. We'll start from the top up here. We can see that menacing stare, which something I really want to point out is how the eyes look from the front compared to the side, that this looks straight out of the movie. I thought this was kind of weird how the teeth look right here, but they're just overlapping, as we'll see in another photo. But they got the color grading absolutely spot on with these teeth. This truly looks like a beast of burden. This sculpt just has so much life breathed into it. It's ridiculous. We don't have too many cuts in the body. They did a pretty good job on hiding these. We'll get a better look at that articulation here in a minute. I want to point out the color grading on these nails that we can see upwards of like 3 or 4 different tones mixed in there, which looks absolutely amazing. Really bringing out that realism that this is a real animal. Continuing down, we can see how smooth that cut is in the chest, which we'll see how he looks when he actually does some bending. And then scrolling down to his legs, these proportions are just spot on. And then we have that same beautiful color grading on his toenails, which they just did such a good job on these. We can see a little bit more of that green sheen. It did a really good mixture. We can also see a little bit of that green on the tail here. They have the dorsals individually painted. Love to see that attention to detail. Moving on to this photo here, we can get a shot from the side, and here y'all can see where that cut is in the chest, where you can get some excellent rotation. You can get an idea of how flexible that tail is going to be. And here we can see what I'm talking about with the perspective on that face from the side. We can see how all of those teeth just pop out, and they went with a slightly lighter tone for that tongue, so it really brings out that expression. Here's an image from the movie that we can get a good look of what the actual suit looks like. But looking at this image right here, we can see how true to life this figure really is. I'm glad they didn't go with another metallic finish for the dorsal spines, as we'll look at the prototype figure right here, as we can see that has much more of a metallic sheen to those dorsal spines. Just to reconfirm for y'all, this is based on the poster concept art. This figure was also designed by Yuji Sakai. This figure also got a special color version that featured white dorsal spines instead of the iconic purple. That comes down to personal preference, but it looks much more like the 2002 Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla Goji that we got. I want y'all to get a good look at this image here, because we're going to hop over on the Hiya Godzilla 2000, which is this image right here. Definitely looking a little more bulky, not as articulated, but still a beautiful figure nonetheless. I think one of the biggest differences between these two figures is the fact that this is more of a darker charcoal color, while the Monsterarts has more of a green tone to it, which is a lot more movie accurate. Because for the 2002 film, he had a lot more of a darker charcoal color that we're used to. And while we're on this image, y'all can get a good look at what this sculpt is looking like in comparison. These suits are different. They're not made to look identical, but they do share a lot of the same characteristics. Here's another image real quick so y'all can get a better idea, especially with how those dorsal fins look, and looking at that head sculpt and how that neck runs down. They do have different proportions. This was the first Godzilla design I was ever introduced to as a child, so call it nostalgia, but I've absolutely fallen in love with this figure, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Here we can get an image of him looking up a little more. He looks a little bit like a cat trying to catch a bug, not gonna lie, which honestly, they kind of looks cute right here. But this figure just has so much expression. Tamashii Nations, or I guess just to say Yuji Sakai, really put a lot of thought into this to bring this guy to life. It's very subtle, but we can see that green tone mixed in there with the darker elements. It's a little darker on the edges of the chest and on the palms of the hands. Hopefully the actual release is this well blended. I would say this is peak perfection of Monsterarts right here, because I have zero nitpicks. I know these are promotional images, so take them with a grain of salt, but I have full faith that Tamashii Nations will deliver on this guy. We can see a little bit of that improved articulation with several cuts in the neck, where he can get that rotation. We have some shoulder sleeves, so he can get more rotation out of those arms, allowing you to get some more dynamic poses out of him. Those legs look like they're going to be kind of stiff, but they should allow for pretty much anything you would want out of him, especially the fact that he can throw them back like this to replicate him jumping in the air, which is something some Monsterarts struggle with, but you should be able to get some nice running poses out of him. And then going back to this image, we have a nice shot of him against a burning background. I'm assuming replicating a scene from the movie, but he has that excellent sheen on his eyes. I'm not trying to repeat myself too much, so let's get on with the comparisons. Going back to the 2002 Godzilla, I don't think this is too dated. This figure really holds up to today's standards of Tamashii Nations. If you can find him for a good price, I highly recommend him for your collection. Now, it's a shame we don't get a re-release for Kiryu, which would be nice to get a general release of, but one can only hope. But I think this has major potential for Tamashii Nations to actually release a Mega Gearus figure, or heck, even a Orga figure, which would absolutely sell out. So hopefully this sparks more interest in the Millennium area for Tamashii Nations, which it's a good sign that they're reissuing the Final Wars Godzilla, which if that sells well, we might even see a Kaiser Ghidorah soon enough, though that would probably be hella expensive, just like Legion. Now, if you prefer the prototype concept art, I'm sure this guy, he's going to be dropping in price on the aftermarket. His paint apps are a little more dated. Some people might prefer the metallic finish on his dorsals, but his face and sculpt are not bad at all. Definitely has more of an elongated neck, a little more restricted articulation. As we can see, there's only 3 cuts in those arms. Might be 4 with the wrist ball joint. I don't personally own him, so I can't speak on his articulation a whole lot, but I was always a fan of the concept art. Here we can get a nice close-up of what that face looks like, and this is the movie version. So not too drastic, but a lot of people are going to be pleased that we are finally getting a movie accurate figure for once. Here's another shot of the HiyaToys version, which we can see they went with a little more of a metallic sheen on those dorsals. This contrasts really well with that darker color scheme they went with, but he is definitely bulkier and a lot cleaner looking than the S.H.Monsterarts version. And that might be personal preference for some, but I think Tamashii Nations absolutely pulled through on bringing this guy's savageness to life, really making him feel like a wild animal. I honestly have no idea where this image came from, but this looks like what appears to be the brand new Godzilla 2000 by Tamashii Nations next to some other monster arts, so y'all can get a good idea of that scale and how he would look. This thing looks absolutely spectacular. I cannot say it enough. Those teeth look a little funky, so I'm not sure what this is. If someone knows where this image came from, I'd appreciate you shining some light on it down in the comments. Now, for some of those Japanese retailers, like I said, this guy's going to be available on all those US storefronts here in the coming weeks, so just keep an eye on that. I wouldn't be too afraid that the pre-orders would run out fast, but if you're wanting to get him the fastest that you can, you're going to want to get him from Hobby-Genki. This is actually where I got my S.H.Monsterarts Shimo, which is still available for $207 USD, which ships directly from Japan. You'll have to pay for the international shipping, but this is the best place to get figures for that Japanese MSRP without paying that ridiculous import tax. You can even get the poster color version of the 1954 Godzilla for $87 on here. So I highly recommend you check Hobby-Genki out. I'll put a link in the comments. Their listing for Godzilla 2000 is not up yet, but it should be by April 4th. And I'm sure the pre-orders won't last more than 48 hours because for some reason people like to buy these up and scalp people before the US release, which is not cool. So definitely take advantage of this before the scalpers do. Other Japanese retailers, you might check Hobby Link Japan or even Bai, but I'm most experienced with Hobby-Genki, so I can safely recommend them. They delivered my Shimo figure on time of the Japanese release date, so I cannot complain at all. They mostly deal in SH Figure Arts and Monster Arts, but Koiskis is also another place you can get some SH Monster Arts figures early if you don't mind paying that extra premium. But I hope you found this video useful. I definitely want to know what y'all think of this guy down in the comments and which design you prefer. Do you prefer the concept art design or the movie design? Or hell, even let me know if you prefer the Hiya over any of these. I definitely want to know what y'all think, so drop a comment down below. Best way to keep up everything is to subscribe. It's free. My name's DargonEvo, and as always, have an amazing day.